everybody? Hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone's staying safe. Hopefully everyone's staying healthy. Welcome to the first day of online learning here for the sociology class. I want to try to keep things very quick and very simple, and try not to waste a whole lot of time here. Again, hopefully you guys are staying safe. Hopefully you guys are ready for what's going on now. Again, I've been posting on Google Classroom, letting you guys know this was coming. But again, make sure you're checking every single day. Moving forward here, this week we got 3 days of notes. That'll be Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Simple. This stuff will be available every day at 7 a.m. You'll have until 5 p.m. to complete it. Again, the note, excuse me. There are 3 things you gotta do. You gotta do vocab. You can look those words up using Google. You gotta watch the lecture video, or at least go through the guided notes, like the slides on your own. And then you have to answer the questions that go along with the notes. Okay. I've also provided links to some of the videos that you'll see like slide pictures of. I can't really explain the videos just because, you know, you guys got to watch it yourself. So make sure you answer the questions and go with the videos, and make sure you're paying attention with that. So sweet. Anyway, 3 things, and then also make sure you're getting your Edmentum assignment done. I'm giving you guys Thursday and Friday to get it done. Edmentum assignments are going to be due every Friday at 5 p.m. So you guys have the entire week to work on it. You can do it all on one day. You can do it whatever day you want. But I'm also providing you Thursday and Friday to work on it. Make sure it gets done. Make sure it gets done. That's the biggest thing here. Okay. With that being said, sweet. We're going to go get into notes today. So we're focusing on Chapter 3. This is our new unit. We're doing Unit 2, which will be Chapter 3 and 4. So we're getting into Chapter 3 today. Again, so I kind of broke down these by like sections. So section 1 and 2, and then section 3 is on its own, and then 4 and 5. I won't say that on the notes, or in the guided notes, but if you pay attention to the lecture slides, it'll tell you, day 1, day 2, and day 3. Sweet. So let's go and get into it today. So chapter 3, first question here, the first thing here is we're talking about sociology in action. So we're talking mainly about the importance of culture and what culture really looks like here, okay? So first thing is a video. Make sure you watch the video. Make sure you get an idea of what's going on there, and we're moving forward. So big idea. The most important aspects of social life we learn without conscious awareness. We are not conscious of our culture until we violate an aspect of it. So for example, from the time you're born, you're pretty much assimilated. You're into a culture, whether you know it or not. Like for example, what's the color? What color do boys get when they're born? What colors do girls get? Simple answer here should have been blue and pink, right? So we're literally born into a culture saying, okay, well, boys wear blue, girls wear pink, and then all of a sudden that's why boys don't like pink, because it's a girl color. Until you violate it, and then a boy wears pink, and then you're like, and then all of a sudden everyone's kind of like, what's happening? That's culture. So whether you like it or not, you're born directly into it, and you may not even know what's going on. That's the whole idea of being conscious about it. If you're not conscious of your culture, you don't know what's going on. So for example here, this picture that I'm about to show you. You're looking at this picture, you notice a couple things. Number one, you see people eating. But in the center of the table, there's an ashtray and someone's smoking. And in culture today, it's like widely known that smoking's not cool. And number 2, smoking when other people are eating is even worse. Like, you're not even supposed to smoke in a building these days. And you're talking about someone smoking while you're eating. That's like a huge like cultural like conflict here. But 20 some years ago, this was an issue. People smoked cigarettes inside. It was normal to smoke inside. It was normal to smoke when you ate. Now it's like if you do it, like people look at you funny and like are mad at you because you're ruining their dinner. And that's just kind of the way culture's evolved over time, and that's kind of the way things continue to go. Some things used to be acceptable then, and now they're not. And that's just how culture is, and it continues to roll on. Next slide here. So what is the difference between culture and society? 2 big things. Culture defines how people in a society behave in relation to others. Okay, so how you behave when around other people. That's culture. Learned behavior, not instinctual, human creation, so it's created by humans, and material and non-material elements. So the whole idea is like, when we talk about living in a material society, it means people like think about like getting things. For example, let's say like you're a collector. That's a material that you're collecting. Where non-material would be kind of more of like the beliefs. So like in America, you know, you think of life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, all that good stuff. So where your focus, our big non-material elements are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Kind of going with that. That's culture. Whereas like other places may not have those. And also, again, learned behavior. So like you think about culture, again, like you think of a good classroom culture, students should be respectful and be quiet, where in a bad culture, students don't do that. But it also has to be learned, which is the big issue there. Now, on the other hand, society is a group of people who live in a defined territory and participate in a common culture. Culture is that society's total way of life. So really what we're trying to say here is society is made up of multiple cultures. Okay, you think about America, right? There's cultures everywhere. There's cultures that change from just building to building or from house to house. We're talking about you could have a household culture that's different than someone else's household culture. That's the way it is. That's a part of society. And that's why we talk about there's so many different facets of our society that we don't really think about it. Yeah, I thought the dog would want to say hi for a second. But again, so culture defines how the people in a society behave. So society, culture defines the society. So how they're reacting. Society, on the other hand, culture is that society's total way of life. Okay, so without culture, society doesn't function. Okay, pretty simple there. Like, because society wouldn't have rules or have regulations in place at that point, because that's a part of culture, is having rules and laws, whether they're formal or informal. That's just the way it is. Next slide. Predict which of the following are drives, reflexes, instincts, and which are creations of culture. It's going to be hard for me to do this, mainly because you guys, we're not in class, so we can't really talk through it like we normally would. But the things I want you to think about here, because you should already have an idea of instincts and reflexes and drives, because you did your vocabulary. If you didn't do your vocabulary, pause the video right now and go do it. Anyway, so let's see here. So I'm just going to kind of skip over that part. I'm just going to explain each of the four things. We're kind of going to go from there. So instincts are behaviors that all human beings share. So for example, our natural instinct, like for example, if someone scares you, you're going to jump. That's just your natural instinct. Everyone tends to have that same instinct, unless you're Kobe Bryant, rest in peace, who had a ball thrown at his face by Matt Barnes and didn't flinch. Man's something else. Reflexes. Eye blinking in a dust storm. So for example, like if a fan was blowing, right, and you're constantly messing up your hair, so you're going like this, or like you're kind of squinting your eyes because your eyes are drying out. Those are reflexes. Those are things that you would typically do. Or for example, if someone pinches you, you might go ow, or you might want to pull away. That's a reflex. That's just normal. Drives. Again, we talked about drives before. Drives are kind of what get us to a certain point. Like, what are we really trying to do? For example, here, our human nature, we have these things that we're driven to do. For example, most of us have a need for sleep. Most of us want to go to sleep. We naturally need it, so it's a driven thing that's going to happen. The second thing is reproduction. Whether some people want to admit or not, most people want to have a drive to reproduce, have kids at some point, whether it's right now or whether it's somewhere down the line. That's something that's a driving force, whether it's getting into a relationship or taking the steps to have kids. That's just the way it is. It's a drive. Creations of culture, socialism, racial inequality, things like that aren't natural, right? They just kind of come about, but they're naturally made by people. Okay, like people make that happen. So creations of culture. So the creators of culture are us. Okay, so think about socialism, capitalism, politics. Those things aren't natural. Like they're not like an instinct or a reflex. They're developed and thought out processes. That is what a creation of culture is. And so does racial inequality, right? I mean, now you may say, well, what do you mean, Mr. McGrath? Like, some people just can't, some people just have issues, or, you know, there's an issue with race in our society. There is, but we created that issue. It wasn't a natural thing. It was created. We didn't see, white people did not see black people as equal, and so what they did was they created racial inequality. But they created it. It wasn't a natural thing. Moving on here. Next thing, what symbols do you think an immigrant to Columbus should be familiar with? Pause this video if you want to think about it for a second. Okay, now I'm going to explain some of these symbols that if someone brand new to this country and brand new to Columbus was coming in, there are a couple symbols that number one they need to know. Number one, the block O. They need to know where they're at and why people are wearing this O on their shirt everywhere. Because number one, everyone in Columbus is pretty much an Ohio State fan. Right? So you're going to see the block O everywhere. Also, I would make sure you explain the symbol of the flag. Pretty much everything around us is a symbol. This Nike swoosh, symbol. You need to explain those things so people know. For example, if they're going to be driving, it would probably be important to make sure they know what a stop sign is. That way when they're driving, they know when to stop. Also, you may want to explain what speed limits are. If you didn't know, if someone's coming into our country, we have a different methodology for everything. Like, we don't use the metric system. We use the American system that focuses on miles and focuses on acres instead of using kilometers and meters. So that's another big thing there. But again, stop signs, turn signals, parking signs, those are all things that they should know what they are. Restroom signs, things of that nature. Those are all symbols they probably should be familiar with. I mean, if they're going to be coming into our country. But also, there's a thing that they should be sensitive about, right? So, for example, just spitting off the cuff here, looking at this picture right now that shows a symbol. You guys know what that symbol is. You probably look at it and be like, oh, okay, that's a pretty cool looking shirt. It says independent on the front, has like this kind of like weird like circular like X on the back, and you have no idea what it means. But to France, people in France, they're like, screw you, dude, don't wear that shirt here, because that's a symbol of a German army that invaded France twice. Same idea here that we talked about this with Great Britain, with people from Great Britain. If you guys remember, I told you guys this is a symbol, right? To us, this just means, oh, peace, what's up? In Great Britain, this means F you. This is like putting up the middle finger, because symbols are different. So that might be a symbol you want to make sure that you tell your immigrant who's coming into Columbus is, hey, this means peace. This means, sticking up your middle finger means F you, like you don't like them. But also, going back to the sensitivity part, is making sure that people, like, if you were coming in with a symbol, if someone wore a swastika on their shirt and they had no idea what it meant, but they came to America, chances are they're not going to be met with friendly people, right? There might be a lot of violence that gets invoked by that. Or also wearing, the symbol for the KKK. Not a great thing to be wearing in the United States. Especially in Columbus, where it's a little bit more affluent. But also, symbols tend to mean different things for everybody. For example, we're looking at this car right here. Some people, it means freedom, right? Getting out on an open road, getting away from everything else that's going on in life. It's freedom. Some people see it as a status, right? So if I have this nice, super cool car, I'm the cool kid on the block. Everyone wants to be like me. I'm above everyone else. But then there's also the people who would say, that car is really bad for the environment. It pollutes everywhere. So, 3 different views of one vehicle. For example, this, right? Just a bottle. I can see it as, this is for me to drink out of. Someone could say, why are you using a plastic bottle? It's just a different viewpoint. Some person could see it as a bird feeder. Like, I've seen people take water bottles and fill them up with bird seeds and poke holes on them. Make them a bird feeder. Everyone has a different vision for something. Everyone can see things from a different perspective. That's what culture is. Next slide. What can language tell us about a culture, and how does it shape our perception of reality? Language tells us what is important in a society. Typically have lots of words for something important. So for example, knowledge is power. We have numerous ways to say that someone's smart. They're intelligent, they're smart. But there's also negative ways to say it. They're a geek, they're a dweeb, they're a dork, they're a nerd. All these things, because they cross over being intelligent. But there's not a lot you can do with it when you really think about it. But there's also words for people who are mean, rude, incompetent. I don't know. What else can I say? I'm just trying to spit off the cuff right now. I can't think of a whole lot more. Disrespectful, right? There's a million different things you could think of that you can use right off the cuff, but we have so many different word choices because we have kind of really went down the avenue of trying to find different ways to describe things that really mean the same thing. So, yeah. And again here, and you see on the very last slide of the thing, it's cultural importance, words for snow. So if you go through and you look at the two different things, Inuit versus English, Inuit have like 45 different words that I can't even pronounce that mean snow. Where English, there's a couple, right? There's icing, there's jelly, lady base, nose candy, paradise. And the thing is, you guys are looking at me saying, that doesn't mean snow. What do you mean? But snow has a different meaning in our culture. Snow isn't just the stuff that comes out of the sky. Snow can also mean cocaine, which is why they say nose candy and paradise, because that's the nicknames for cocaine, which is also known as snow. This is the whole thing here, is like everything has a different meaning. That's what words have different meanings, and that's part of culture, right? For example, if you walked into somewhere and you said, like, you could just say a word, and not everyone may say it the same way. And that's just the way it is, because that's the way culture is. But that being said, that's all we got today. Again, I know this kind of seems broken up just because, you know, the way our class normally is, it's much more conversation based, and it's much more of us getting to talk and have a little bit more of a discussion about it. But again, if you guys have questions, issues, concerns for me, make sure you're leaving comment. Well, I guess you can't leave comments because I have this as educational. Make sure you're leaving comments on Classroom, or make sure you're emailing me with any concerns you have. And as usual, make sure you get the guided notes questions done, and make sure you're washing your hands and being safe. Have a great rest of your day, and make sure you come back tomorrow for the next video that continues on. Peace.